Just when the world needed him most, Voultar is back.
Oh, Dreamcast power supply. Ooh, I won't betray you with some crappy mod advertised by some YouTuber who doesn't know their head from their Ooh, I can't wait to put you inside my... Oh, hey guys, it's Voultar here. And you know, something that I'm asked quite frequently is, Voultar, I have very limited soldering ability. What's a mod that I can do that's actually worthwhile and means something? Well, my suggestion has always been to just simply begin by replacing the batteries in your old video game cartridges. Yes, it only requires the most very basic skill set in soldering, and it's a great way to build up your own skills. So, we have a copy of Zelda here for the NES. We also have a copy of Super Mario All-Stars for the Super Famicom. Same rules apply to the Super NES cartridges, so there's no difference there. And finally, we have a Game Boy cartridge. Now, we'll be replacing the batteries in all three of these. Now, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that will help you make this easier. Make it a fast process, and you'll be a winner every time. So sit back, strap on. Let's do it to it. Now we have our three cartridges here that we'll be working with, and why not start with the classic? Now we have the original Legend of Zelda right here, and it's a beautiful gold cartridge. I actually got this at a flea market a couple of years ago, never cracked it open, so this will be fun to do. Now as we go along, I'll be talking about the tools and supplies we'll be using. Now the first tool that you're going to need is a 3.8mm Gambit screwdriver, which I have right here. If you check my Amazon page, I have a link for the best one that I like. Use it there. So let's take this cart apart. Let's see what's going down. Alright, here's our game PCB. We'll just take this out. And there we have it. And oh my! I can already tell whoever owned this before did not do a very nice job keeping their games clean, and as a matter of fact, it looks like somebody even took sandpaper, Jesus, to clean this game. Well, there's nothing we can do about that, but let's zoom in on the battery and let's talk about what we're going to be doing next. Here's the battery, and this is a Sony CR2032, great brand, great quality. This cartridge is 30 plus years old. It's time to go. Now, there's a couple of ways we can handle this, but as a beginner, the most safest, fastest way of handling this is just to turn this bad boy around. Let's look at our tabs. Now we have two tabs here. We can handle this in a couple of different ways, but what I recommend is we're going to be using our soldering station, and we're just going to try to sort of briefly and quickly pull these tabs and straighten them out with a little heat and a little speed. So I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit more, and I'm going to show you how I'm just going to straighten these tabs right up. Let's do it. Now what I'm going to be using is my Kescher soldering station, as well as my K-Series knife edge tip. And this is very, very quick motion. You don't want to keep a lot of heat on these batteries. They're chemically charged, they have lithium, they can explode just like love juices. So having said that, I'm going to first take my tip, I'm going to rake it over and make the solder go molten. I'm going to sweep it across, and I'm just going to make the tab here be vertical. Just put it in a vertical position. So watch this, watch me, let's do it. Molten. Just like that. Okay, here's the other side, same principle. Make the solder go molten, sweep your iron across, and make the tab go vertical. Let's do it. Just like that. Now this is the part where a lot of people would recommend you getting out a solder sucker, removing the excess solder, and pulling the battery. I do not recommend that. That takes a lot of time, and it's highly inefficient in my opinion. What I do recommend is after you have your tabs positioned vertically, come in here with a really sharp pair of flush cuts and cut off the excess. So let me just show you that right now. okay? Just like that. And after you do that, once again with some quick heat, we're going to introduce our iron to these joints, and we're just going to manually pull the battery out. Let's do it. And just like that, our battery is very cleanly pulled. This is where I now recommend you getting out the solder sucker and we remove that excess solder so we can perfectly clean those joints without having to fight with the battery tab. So we can throw this away. We'll zoom back in here, we'll get out our solder sucker, and we'll clear these plated slots. Let's go. Now, properly using the solder sucker is kind of an acquired art. We're going to introduce our tip back into the joint, we're going to wait for the solder to go molten, and then once it's molten, we're going to quickly advance our tool in here, and we're going to suck the T1000 juices right out of this plated slot. So let's see it, let's watch it, let's do it. It's that simple, and it's that fast. Let's do the other side. Okay, once again, advance our tip. Wait for it to go molten, advance our tool in, suck it out. Just like that. Okay, let's move on. Excellent work. So we've perfectly cleared all of the solder from our plated slots in the front and the back. This couldn't look any cleaner. Now this is where we'll take one of our CR2032 battery holders and prepare this, position this to be installed. So we'll be using one of these. We'll be popping one of these batteries out. We'll be using one of these too. Let's do it. Now we have our battery positioned in our CR2032 battery holder, and this is where a nice pair of tweezers come into play, because we're going to be using these to wing out our tabs to sort of convert this surface mount battery holder into a through-hole battery holder. Let's do it. Just like that. Okay, this is ready to be positioned and seated in our NES game cartridge. Let's keep going. Ooh! Now this is quite simple to do. We're simply going to take our battery holder and carefully position it over the area. Make sure everything lines up. I want to turn this upside down, like so. I'm just going to very gently rock the CR2032 battery holder while I'm pressing down firmly. This will seat it evenly and securely, just like that. Now our battery holder is seated perfectly. We can come down here now and we can just solder this into place. Let's do it. Now at this point, I like to finish this off by just spraying a little isopropyl alcohol onto the site and cleaning off the residual here with a nylon brush. Let's do that now. Looking great. And just like that, we've replaced our old CR2032 very quickly, very efficiently, and most importantly, very safely. Now keep in mind, when putting this back together, you may run into a little tight issue with the battery holder and this little boss right here that just acts like a brace, but don't worry, it will fit perfectly fine. It might be a little snug, but that's quite all right. Okay, here's a copy of Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Famicom, and as I've said before, these PCBs are identical between the Super NES and the Super Famicom and the PAL Super NES. Our battery is here, and look, it's a Maxell brand, my favorite. And 9 times out of 10, your tabs are already going to be vertical, and if that's the case, it's just a matter of coming in here with your flush cuts, cutting them off flush. Let's zoom in a little bit, and let's repeat this process. Let's do it. Okay, now I'm going to grab the battery with my left hand, just hold it, and start pulling it back when I introduce my solder into these plated slots here so we can easily remove the battery. Let's do it. Now, you may find that it helps to add or introduce fresh solder to the joint, like so. It might just help this suck up that much easier. Let's use our solder sucker, let's advance it in, let's clear this joint. Just like that. Now, our left side was already cleared, and that happens sometimes when you pull the battery tabs out. But our right side now is perfectly clear too. So let's go ahead and put our new battery holder in here. Let's finish this up. And with a flick of a wrist and a little ounce of effort, we've managed to install a battery in our copy of Super Mario All-Stars. Great job. Excellent work, nice fit and finish, and always nice to clean off that residual solder so your cart's like minty and fresh every time. Okay, let's zip this back together and let's take a look at the Game Boy. Now, servicing Game Boy cartridges is actually something that we went over in a prior episode. Check out my Restoring or Repairing Game Boy Cartridges video, as it has a lot of good tidbits of information. But nonetheless, we're here, let's take it apart. We'll simply remove the surface mount battery, and we'll replace it with one of these surface mount tabbed CR2032s. Now, I do like the Toshiba branded CR2032 tabbed battery, good quality, good life, and an excellent candidate for a Game Boy cartridge. So let's go ahead and let's do that right now. Now we're looking at our Game Boy cartridge, and as you can see, the battery is an actual CR1616. That's no problem. We can absolutely easily replace this with a CR2032, which simply means this battery will have much more capacity. It should last a whole bunch longer. Having said that, we'll zoom in a little tighter, and we'll just simply remove the surface mount battery. Let's do it to it. Now we're just going to bring in our soldering iron like so, and we're going to remove each tab one by one. So we'll let this go molten, and we'll just very simply and very carefully lift up, just like that. just like that. Got a little stream of solder here. I'm just going to take my finger, wipe that away just like that. Okay, now here's the rule of thumb. If you're going to be using 60-40 solder, the chemistry that was used during the wave process or to actually apply the battery is quite compatible, so you don't have to worry about removing this solder system to use your 60-40 solder system. But if you're using lead-free or something to that effect, it's best to clean up these pads. Now, I'll be using 60-40 chemistry solder. I have no problems keeping this here. I'll just introduce some fresh solder and we'll place our CR2032 in position. Let's do it. Now be sure to pay very close attention to the markings on the Game Boy PCB here. As you can see on this side, this is the negative. Over here, that's the positive. And what I like to do just to make the battery fit a little bit easier is I'll just come on one of the sides here and I'll cut just a bit of the tab off, just so that we have a little more wiggle room. Just like that. Okay, let's put our battery into position here. Let's install it. Now when it comes to surface mount parts like this is where a nice flux pen comes in real handy. I like to use the Bond 102 as it's refillable, and I like to use MG Chemicals halogen-free no clean flux. So I'm just going to take our flux pen here and I'm just going to dab these up, and I'm going to once again go over these joints with some fresh solder, like so. Okay, there's a nice amount there. Nice amount here, great. Now once we have that done, try to center this up a little bit more. I'm going to come right back in here once again with our flux, and we're just going to introduce our battery like so, put it in position. Sorry guys, this is getting a little squirmy on me here, but alright, there we have it. That looks pretty good. I'm going to come on the right side here, my left, your right. Just going to add a little heat. Wait just a moment and release. Just like that. Oh, you know what? It looks like I'm off-centered just a little bit here. Sorry, the blasted camera's in my way. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to move it over just like that. Now that's perfectly aligned. Fantastic. Let's come over here to the right side. And this is the area where you can see we clipped off just a bit of our lead here. I'm just going to very slowly introduce my iron like so. And we're just going to put this down in that little valley just like that. And once again, we had to make a minor adjustment there, but that is quite a nice weld. Good fillet over our tab, no problems. This is all good to go, and if we're lucky, this will fit right back into that plastic case. Let's check it out. Absolutely beautiful, no bulging, no deforming. That CR2032 fits in there just fine. No problems. We'll zip the screw back in here, and this will be all set. Ooh, I want the T1000 juices. Oh, geez. Well, guys, listen, we're all done. Anybody with simple soldering ability should be able to do this no problem. You can replace your game save batteries and you can get back into the game and you can save your glorious data. I hope this video was helpful. You know, I feel like a lot of my content is quite advanced and I just wanted to do something nice for the beginner so that the beginner can actually follow along and do something with us, because we all have to start somewhere. Well guys, thanks so much for stopping by, and be sure to subscribe and like this video if you dug it. Also, be sure to click that bell and to make sure you're getting notifications, because you don't want to be the person that misses me ripping off this shirt. Ooh. I'm not going to do it yet, but it could happen. And as for next time, well, we have work to do. Catch you next time.